Hello viewers, I've had the AT&T SynJ system in use for a few weeks now, and now that I've gotten some time to use it and play with the features and whatnot, I wanted to put out some more initial opinions on it. My satisfaction with the system is kind of declining, honestly, as I use it, because I'm finding more and more that there's areas of the telephone that severely and almost fatally lack customization and just basic features that you'd want to have on an office telephone. So I don't want to make it out like I'm bashing the system with this video, but I do want to kind of underscore the failure points first. This way, if one of them is a deal breaker for you, you don't have to sit here and watch the whole video. So first I want to say that for the price point of this telephone, I'm a bit surprised by how many shortcomings are situated inside the software. If you think about it, you can get a full-on laptop computer running a full version of Windows, whatever your preference operating system is, for $300, and that's pretty complex software. This base unit costing about half of that, I would have expected to be full of every option you could possibly think of. And honestly, it's just not. First thing that bothers me about this is the auto attendant. The auto attendant, the fastest you can have it answer on is 2 rings, which to me is a fatality, honestly, because I get calls. I have an online business, and so I get calls from people in all different time zones at all odd hours of the day. And my hope was to have the auto attendant on. It'll answer the phone as soon as it rings, so the phone doesn't actually ring and make a sound, just answers right away and plays the auto attendant. This way, calls for business purposes can be routed to the phone downstairs and not wake me up while I'm sleeping. And if there was an important call, it can get routed to the bedroom and wake me up if there was an emergency. It doesn't work that way. The whole thing rings twice before it goes to the auto attendant. In my mind, that almost defeats the purpose of it, because if you want to only have certain areas be disturbed by certain calls, that doesn't happen with the auto attendant, really. So that, I think, is a major shortcoming. Now let's look at the answering machine. The answering machine does not have a night mode per se. So if you're in a business and you're after hours and you want to have a different greeting on the telephone so people can either leave a message or just have the hours read and then it hangs up or whatever, you have to set that manually at the end of every single day. And then you turn it off manually when you open up again, which is kind of ridiculous. There should be a way to set the answering machine so that it turns on at a certain time, plays a certain greeting for a certain time window, and then returns to its previous state after a certain time window. Doesn't have that. So that's kind of an inconvenience to have to do that. Another thing I got to remember when you're closing the business for the day. That's unfortunate. The other thing that bothers me about the answering machine, and I say this about almost every phone I do a review on, the quality leaves a lot to be desired. And I don't understand why, because memory is cheap. If you want to skimp on something to save money, memory really isn't the thing to do it on, because it doesn't cost much. There's no reason that they wouldn't be able to put a higher quality recording in here, or have it record at a better quality rather, and spend another 2 cents on memory. It's just ridiculous. The other recording that's abominable in quality is the music on hold. The recording for the music on hold is so bad, it's pretty much unusable. And again, I don't know why they didn't put another few hundred kilobytes of memory in there and get a better quality, but they didn't. And so, honestly, it's unusable. The recorded music is unusable. I don't use hold very often, maybe once every 2 or 3 months. And so for my purpose, it'll just have to do. But if you're going to use hold with any regularity and you don't want to annoy the customers, you'll have to have some sort of a live input, because that's the only way you're going to get a clear music on hold. As long as you have the input, it's clear, but the recording is basically worthless. So let's see here. What are the other things that drive me crazy? Oh yeah, the phone book. The call log. I mean, not the call. The directory. Worthless. Worthless for a variety of reasons. Number one, it only stores 100 entries, which, again, memory is cheap, and it doesn't even take much memory to store 10 digits with a name attached to it. I have consumer grade phones that cost a fraction of this set, this AT&T set, that can store over 3,000 entries. I don't understand why this telephone only stores 100 entries. That's ridiculous. To make it even more useless, you can't transfer the telephone book, at least not that I've discovered anyways. I'll correct this if I'm wrong in the next video, but as far as I can tell, there's no way to actually copy the phone book entries from unit to unit. So you're going to have to sit there and type in the entries that you want on every single phone, which is kind of time consuming, and if you want to update or change something, it's a hassle. Shouldn't be like that. Should be able to copy, should be centrally located on the base even, or at least have an option to do that. But it's not there. So, the other thing that annoys me is the extensions. The extensions assigned in the auto attendant are limited to the number assigned to the telephone. Like this is number 6, just because it was registered to the base. It was registered to the base 6th. You can't change that, which is really irritating because this is the phone in the bedroom, and so when I get a personal call on the auto attendant, this is the one that I have, and so my first option is to press 6, which is crazy. I should be able to say, I want this cordless phone to be number 1 on the auto attendant, and that's it. Another kooky thing about the auto attendant is that this unit, for some bizarre reason, carries the star key as its extension. So why it doesn't hold 0 is absolutely beyond me, because the thing says press star for the operator. No, press 0 for the operator is what it should be. That's what's intuitive. And so you're going to the menu, you gotta hit star pound to get to the operator. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The other thing that's ridiculous is you then have to put star to hear the directory again. It should just be star. The other thing that drives me crazy is that you have to hit pound to get to the extension. Why? All the extensions are single digit numbers. So it's not like you'd press a number and then there could be the potential for more input. That's it. So why do you have to press pound afterwards? It's just another step. So the auto attendant really needs some help. Okay, what else drives me crazy? Okay, this really drives me nuts. Let's say we're on line 2, and I want to pick up the phone on line 2. It doesn't let me. I have to sit here and press and hold line 2. And then it'll let me on. Now, I could understand it being like that if you have it set up so that you're in privacy mode, but if you're not in privacy mode, I don't understand why it has to be like that. Okay, let's see here. On the desk sets, so the dumbed down version of this, if you will, when you pick up the handset, there's a good almost 2 second delay before it actually connects. It's just like the cordless phone. Now, I get it on the cordless phone, but for something that's plugged in and not relying on the battery power, I don't understand why there's that delay. The delay should not be there. It should be press and go. So, and it's just really awkward because you pick it up and you say hi and it's like, oh, it's not ready yet. It shouldn't be like that. It should be instantaneous or close to it. In general, I'm not a huge fan of these handsets. The volume is too loud on the lowest setting. I mean, that's better than not being able to hear it, but it needs to have a lower audio level for my preferences anyways. And the sound is kind of tinny. It's not that great. The microphone is pretty poorly designed because it's very easy to mouth this too much and overload it, and then everything gets all garbled. I don't understand why they couldn't have used a more traditional handset like this, for instance, which has been around forever. But they didn't. They used this. It's okay, but it's not super ergonomic, and it's kind of slippery. It's not textured. It's really slick. Leaves a bit to be desired for a $150 phone. So, yeah. What I do like about it is that it's reliable, which is huge for me, because if you have a phone that only gets 98% of the calls, worthless, in my opinion. So, the fact that this system has never missed a call, it's never dropped a call, that's a huge plus in my mind. I do like the buttons. They're big, they're easy to see, they're responsive. You can press them pretty fast, and they keep up with you. The screen is, well, depending on what kind of lighting conditions you're in, the screen is relatively easy to read. Again, this is where it lacks customization. You should be able to change the brightness on that screen. You should be able to turn the brightness off on that screen during certain hours. Can't do any of that, which is kind of frustrating. Oh, the other thing that lacks customization is the rings. So, you can change the ringtone per line, but you can't change the ring volume per line. Now, in my case, and this is where I ran into an issue, on the phone in the bedroom, which sits next to my computer, what I wanted to do was have the ring volume on full for my personal line, and have the ring volume off for my business line. This way, if I happen to be in the bedroom and I was working on the computer not doing anything and a business call came in and I felt like answering it, I could. But it wouldn't, disrupt my sleep. Well, you can't do that. The ring volume is one across the whole lines. Unfortunate. Now, you can change what telephones receive the ring signal when certain lines come in. And so I can set it so that when I get a call on the business line, bedroom phone doesn't ring. But then it doesn't get missed calls from the business line. And so when I come home from my conventional job, I usually go in the bedroom and I look at the call log. And it doesn't have all the calls I got. It's only got the calls that I got on my personal line. Kind of annoying. The other thing that annoys me with the calls is this new call light here. Which is, the light itself is fine. It's good. It's nice. It's easy to see and whatever. But the call log does not clear out across the entire system. So let's say I come home and I look at the cordless phone, clear out the call log. Well, my desk phone here still says X new calls. And that drives me nuts because I go in one room, I see new call, I clear it out, and I go in the other room, oh gee, there's new calls. Ridiculous. It should clear out on all the phones when you clear it out on one. Doesn't do that. The push to talk. A huge disappointment. It's not two-way. I was under the understanding that this was like a radio, two-way radio. Nope. This should be called an intercom, because that's what it is. You press it and you transmit to all the handsets. they can't transmit back. So that's, in my opinion, super disappointing, because that would be really cool if these could function like radios, but they don't. Alright, so what else works good? Do not disturb works fine. It's nice to have, easy to turn on and off. I wish all the desk sets had that. Only this one does. Volume control on the bass is nice because while you're on the phone, turn it up and down. You don't have to take the handset away from your ear. Flash works fine as you would expect. Transfer works just fine. On the desk sets, up and down arrows here are shortcuts to caller ID and the directory. For whatever reason, on the desk set, or on the base unit rather, they decided to change it so that these buttons do nothing and your shortcuts are down here. Which is okay, but why in the world would you change it and make it more complicated? It should be as universal as possible, in my opinion. I have used the headset on these phones. That works perfectly fine. Mute works fine, as you would expect it to. The messages. The messages are kind of annoying because at least I haven't figured out how to access all the mailboxes on one phone. So you can get the general mailbox in this phone as well as mailbox 6, and that's it. It's kind of annoying because if I'm on my desk set here and I remember, oh, somebody called and left a message on my cordless phone, I want to be able to go into my extension number 6 mailbox, and I can't do that. I have to go get this phone to do that. So it's kind of like the auto attendant. You should not be tied down to this number. You should be able to set this number to whatever you want, and you should be able to set the mailbox, to be accessible on the base. Maybe it is. I mean, I can't figure out if it is, because I go into the mailboxes here, mailbox, and I get the general delivery, and that's it. I don't have any other options. So that's annoying. I wish you get all the messages on here. So with that being said, well, I want to move to the cordless phone, because although the desk sets, there's a lot of features that are missing, which is a bummer. Like I said before, they are reliable, and if you're just looking to make and receive calls and have, basic hold and transfer functions, it's a solid set if that's all you want. But just keep in mind that when you want more options, you need more options, you need more expandability. It's just not really there. Now let's move on to the cordless phone, and this is where things start to get better, because I happen to think this is a phenomenal cordless phone. And by far my favorite part of the system is this cordless phone. It's just a nice phone. It's heavy, it's big, it's sturdy, it's got rubber grips on the side, so it's easy to hold. It's got a textured finish, again easy to hold. It's got a thing on the battery cover here, which is a lot better than the clicking things that snap in place, because those will break. This will probably never break. The belt clip is, really sturdy, holds the phone very securely. It uses a standard size battery, not some weirdo battery that costs $1 million. That's a pretty standard battery. Volume control on the side, phenomenal. Turn it up and down while you're on the phone, not take it away from your ear. Headset jack, easy to open and close. Screen's pretty easy to read, actually, and I have to say the standby screen on here is phenomenal. It's got the battery icon, date and time stamp, and the location of the handset, or the handset name rather. Perfect, and it would show new calls if there were new calls. Great standby screen. The button layout is good. It's initializing calls on the left, talk is primary, it's down more conveniently, hold off, ending calls, transferring calls, left to right, excuse me. It's just intuitive. One thing I will note about the cordless phone is that it doesn't really have a way to transfer calls. The best you can do is intercom somebody and say, yo, pick up line 2 or whatever. So that's kind of dumb. Why this doesn't have the ability to transfer is beyond me. Speakerphone is good. It's pretty loud for a handset speakerphone. 2-stroke is for the caller ID. For some reason, we got caller ID down here, caller ID up here. I mean, there's a couple comments I can make about the interface, but honestly, the cordless phone, I really like the cordless phone. It's great. Actually, I will say one thing. This writing here, these should be backlit. I don't know why they're not. Because honestly, this is hard to see dark red on black. I can't see very well. I can hardly see that. I happen to know that turns it off because I've used it for long enough, but not a very highly readable setup. But other than that, I really don't have any major complaints about the cordless phone. The cordless phone is pretty good. So, anyways, that's a first look at the system here. So again, my basic conclusions about it are that if you want a system that's reliable, this is it. And if you just want to make and receive calls and have hold if you want it, some interconnectivity between the handsets, it works for that. It does. And for my purposes here, using it in more of a residential setting, I don't really encounter a major dilemma with the features that it lacks. But if you were in a business environment, I think this would fall short in a lot of areas. So it depends on what your needs are. It's a great starter set if you've relocated somewhere and there's no phone wiring and you need multiple lines or multiple phones. This is a solid choice. But I think the only reason I would go with this is because I wanted the cordless feature. If you have the ability for wired phones, there's much better options out there. But if you need the cordless feature, this is a great set, sans its limitations. Not everybody's going to be affected by those limitations. So, it depends on what you want. If some of the things I mentioned don't bother you, you'll probably be very happy with it. Because I have been as well, for what I've been using it for. It works out well. So, it's a great set. It's reliable. A couple shortcomings. Some are more major than others depending on where you're using it. But, that's going to be it for this video. I think we've rambled on more than long enough about these telephones. I will do a full-on review on this eventually. Probably another month or two. And I got to read through the manual. I haven't gotten all the way through it yet. Maybe I'll discover it has some more features. But anyways, hopefully this video was helpful to some buyers or potential buyers of this phone. Thank you for watching. Comment, subscribe, and out.